trying to pin down the exact genre of 24-year-old producer Yoon Jae-Geun, who records under the alias JG Yuruguay, feels like playing a psychological game you are designed to lose. Look at this data readout of an audio analysis scan on one of his tracks. The software parses the frequencies and confidently labels it uplifting progressive trance at a tempo of 138 beats per minute. That specific categorization tells a machine to group him with 1990s and 2000s stadium trance legends like Tiesto or Kamaya Painters. The algorithm sees a fast, steady electronic pulse and assumes it knows exactly what to do with it. This is a classic example of the batch render problem. That is a phenomenon where digital systems actively try to smooth away the complex, asymmetrical human tensions that make an artist unique, forcing them into a clean, predictable category. But the software is actually being deceived. The machine is only listening to the math of the drum loop, completely blind to the textures buried underneath that steady rhythm. Relying on these clean, algorithmic labels misses the point entirely. That upbeat, mathematical trance exterior is a rigid disguise, masking a much darker, intentional rebellion against modern music consumption. To understand the actual origin of his sound, you have to leave the glossy festival stages behind. His music is birthed from the heavy port infrastructure of Japan's Hanshin industrial corridor, smog-choked concrete and orange streetlights between Osaka and Kobe. He captures that environment by building a relentless mechanical skeleton. The tracks rely on a rigid 4/4 timing grid, pushing forward without hesitation, mimicking automated machinery. Then he forces abrasive analog elements right on top of it. He layers in scraped live viola and electric guitar licks that are deliberately unquantized, meaning their timing is messy, human, and not snapped perfectly to the digital grid. This chaotic, scraping texture draws a direct lineage to the avant-garde energy of early post-punk bands and industrial soul musicians, importing their harsh, anti-commercial noise into a modern electronic space. JG Yuruguay binds these conflicting layers together using an audio technique he calls perceptual weaving. Perceptual weaving operates almost entirely below the threshold of active consciousness. Acoustic noises pan from left to right and fade up so gradually that your brain simply accepts them as part of the environment before you consciously notice they exist. The true draw of this music is the intense, intimate friction of that arrangement. You are listening to a flawed, struggling human instrument, desperately fighting for space against a cold, automated system. Mainstream reviewers often dismiss this structural choice with a lazy critique, claiming the tracks suffer from horizontalism, a term used to describe music that moves in a flat line without delivering massive dynamic peaks or valleys. But that critique misreads the anatomy of the work. The mechanical grid is meant to be a flat, steady bed. The actual hypnotic tension happens entirely in those slow, agonizing shifts within the upper threshold layers of the analog instruments. By refusing to deliver a traditional, euphoric festival drop, the music forces you to sit inside that unresolved tension. You never get the sudden release of pressure that standard club music trains you to expect. Withholding that emotional climax requires psychological endurance. It binds you to the rhythm, locked into the forward momentum, never celebrating a momentary peak. This is why he explicitly defines his output as functional cognitive audio. It is sound engineered to prioritize utilitarian endurance over cheap, momentary entertainment. The intended use cases for this music are deeply solitary and specific. It is built to carry you through midnight cycling routines, empty coastal drives, and grueling 3 a.m. coding marathons. That strict philosophy of physical and mental endurance dictates exactly where the music lives. It is the driving force behind his aggressive, complete boycott of massive streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. Instead, the work survives in a friction-heavy underground environment. He forces listeners to actively seek out specific downloads from independent archives, demanding intentional effort rather than passive scrolling. Starving the major recommendation algorithms of their required data inputs creates chaos for the machines. They try to categorize him with fragmented, conflicting tags, ultimately revealing their own artificial limits. JG Yuruguay's genre confusion serves as an intentional, protective shield. By refusing to pick a single lane or conform to a digital template, He survives as a beautiful, unclassifiable glitch in a system that demands perfection.